Welcome to our StableNet tutorial series. Today we are covering the analyzers, more specifically the analyzer, the group analyzer, and the category analyzer. To that end, we are looking here on a StableNet 10 system running on our demo lab, and we'll be looking into those different dialogues and the functionality behind it. So as a first example, I will work here a little bit with the analyzer, and to that end, I'm looking here at my device alarms tree, default device alarms tree, and I'm actually recognizing that there is an alarm here on the LTS demo as an agent script. So it's showing me a problem. And I actually read down here in the open alarms table that there is a service down alarm since the beginning of the 2nd of February, like at midnight. Seems like the SN agent on that LTS demo system has a service down. So I'll open the analyzer and get a first look. So as you can see here, we don't see anything right now because we don't have any data in the last 24 hours, and the standard setting when opening the analyzer is 1440 full minutes. So this doesn't show me anything right now, but I will in this case, this is due to the alarm, I will now jump back to, let's say, the last 7 days. And here I am, now I get data. So the analyzer here is showing me on the x-axis the time range, on the y-axis the measurements, and in this case it's actually showing me the connection time to the SN agent running on LTS demo. And I can see here at midnight, no more data anymore. Now I'll be using some of the functionality of the analyzer to look into this in more detail. The first thing I could do here is zooming in with my mouse and actually seeing that just before midnight, the last measurement was still successful, and then I didn't get any data anymore. Zooming out again by plotting it. Another thing I could do here is, why don't we actually look at the measurement table instead of the actual graph? So I'm now jumping into the measurement data and plotting this one. Now I'm getting a table. And when we actually look down here, we always have the measurements in regular intervals of 10 minutes. And we are getting connection times, which are really slow because it's running basically in the same demo lab infrastructure. So it's taking almost no time. And if we're zooming down here, so 31st of January, still everything fine. 1st of February, still everything fine. And just here at midnight, the last measurement, we get a -1, and we actually see that it's not working anymore. I can tell you that actually the reason is that we just forgot on this server, we didn't update the StableNet license yet. So because we didn't do that, the StableNet agent isn't running anymore, isn't collecting any data anymore. And this is why we also get an error here for this service being down. So now we can see here at midnight, this is where the issue happens. So now going back to the analyzer and looking into this, let's now see what else are we actually measuring on that same device here, on that same LTS demo server, and see if we have any relations to that. So I'm adding here now a second measurement, and I'm actually adding the LTS demo HTTPS measurement. So we are not just measuring the functionality of the agent, but we are also monitoring if the server is available by HTTPS. And if I'm actually plotting this now in a time-synced way, you actually see that you have now 2 graphs in the analyzer. So the analyzer can show several graphs in the same time. And you actually see that on the one side you have the SN agent measurement, on the other side you have the HTTPS measurement, and it seems like that this HTTPS measurement in red is continuing to work, and we actually can still reach the server, so it's available, just the agent is not running. So now let's choose a little different view to make this even more visible. So I'm changing from the connect chart, which is showing me the millisecond connection time, to an availability chart. And I'm doing this for the 1 measurement and for the second measurement. So you can see I can do this individually for each single measurement being displayed here, and I'm plotting this. And now what you can actually see is I have the availability here from the SN agent, which looking at the last 7 days is 85%, because this is like not, it wasn't available the full time. And the HTTPS availability is available 100% because it was available all the time. And if you compare it, you see here that this is actually precisely the time when the one availability drops and the other one is still available. Another thing I can now do is, instead of time syncing this, I can also summarize it, which means both services available, and here I'm getting only one. So I'm just showing a summary line. I can average it, which as expected is showing 100% in average and 50% if just one of two is working. I can do a stacked plot. So this is also like, you can see here that the red one's working all the time and the blue one, the SN agent, is not working all the time. Now, if you don't like that, I don't like it, that here the red's jumping down. Why don't we remove, just change the order? So we put HTTPS to the top, which actually gives us a plot now. Don't overlook this, please. The HTTPS is now the blue one, and the red one is SN agent because I changed the order. But now you have a straight rectangle here and the other one here. So this is also yet another possibility you can use. Yeah, maybe what else can we do with this? So let's say we want to have an SLA marker here that actually it's only green if we are, let's say it's actually a red area, so we are choosing a red color, and we actually say if we are in the range of 0 to 200, this is actually not everything working. Yeah, that's it. So actually now we have not everything working. We have actually marked that area. And let's put another SLA marker. So in terms of if we are beyond 200, we are actually choosing green. And this is both services working. Oh, I actually should have done it this way. Now I have two in the same time. Not everything working. Here we are. And I want both of this to be seen in the graph. Yeah. Now we have, if we're in the green area, it's okay. If we're in the red area, it's not okay. What else can we use in this analyzer? We can now, for instance, print this out. If you want to send this to someone, you could print it out, or we can remove those SLA markers again. They make more sense maybe for other measurements. Here we can save this as a picture and send it to someone, or if we don't want to send just a still picture, but if we want to send a live link, we can also use the link functionality. And the link functionality actually gives us separate things here. We can first define a size. So this is actually defining how large the picture is going to be. Let's just keep that size and maybe open the link first. So you see here that you actually get a picture. And this is not a static picture, but it's actually a URL. And this URL, whenever you refresh it, you actually get a new picture. So you can also share this URL with someone, and whoever is opening it is actually getting a dynamic picture of the last 7 days in this case. You can also, when you look closer at the URL down here, this is too much for this video tutorial to cover everything. But you can see here that the different parameters like the width and height of the graph, the kind of graph you can see, and so on, all of this is defined here. There's much more about this in the documentation, Please have a look there. You also have a token, which is actually enabling everyone to who has access to that IP address can actually see the graph without login credentials to StableNet. So that's good for reporting. You don't need to have a login to StableNet, and you can still see it. Helpful for sharing. And you have a QR code, which is obviously generally interesting for everyone using mobile phones, but also specifically interesting for people working with our StableNet mobile app. So you could scan this code here, and based on that, you have the possibility to directly integrate this in the StableNet mobile app as a constant view. So if you want to keep track of that, this would work as well. Yeah, there are some options you can do. So for instance, let's imagine now we want to make this more clear while sharing it with someone. So we can, for instance, say that we have here an overall overview of service status of the device LTS demo, but here for the sake of showing some functionality, I'm actually not referring to the device itself, but I'm referring to the tag device name. So I'm reading this as a variable. And here as the subtitle, we want this maybe just, this is example graph, example analyzer graph of StableNet tutorial video, the legend, we can keep for now, and the time range. It's correct already, but in order to shorten it a little bit, we say last 7 days. And let's see what we get. Yes. So now this is the outcome. This is an overall overview of the service status of LTS demo infosim.net with an example analyzer graph of StableNet tutorial video, and it's for the last 7 days. And now, as this HTTPS availability and SN agent availability might not still not be understandable for everyone well enough, I'm also changing the legend here a little bit. I'm doing this by text replacements in this case. I'm replacing the HTTPS by the general agent connection via HTTPS, general connection via HTTPS, including the colon here, and the SN agent I'm replacing by, let's call it general availability via HTTPS, and this one I'm calling availability of SN agent, net agent, and I'm getting rid of the word availability here by replacing it by an empty string. And now I have a legend here, which actually says general availability via HTTPS, availability of StableNet agent. And if I'm again showing the link here and opening the link in my browser, I actually now get this new picture. And this is something that I could, for instance, now share with my team to look at this. Now let's look at some other functionality here. To that extent, I'm closing the analyzer for now, going back into my StableNet GUI. And now I want to look into the group analyzer for a little bit. I'm moving here to another tree in my tag tree selection. And now I'm opening the group analyzer. And the group analyzer actually gives me an overview of all the different measurements in my system according to different criteria. Here, for instance, it opened up with the last setting I had, which is an interface statistic of the report type interface max bandwidth table and a top N 10. So it's telling me those 10 elements which actually have the largest interface bandwidth in the last 7 days. So you can also see StableNet is actually keeping the settings here. So the last chart I was looking at were the last 7 days. So it's keeping this information that I directly have it here available. I'm just showing some more examples here. So this is an interface max bandwidth table. Another example I could look at, for instance, I'm having virtual machines here, VMware monitoring in this demo system. So let's say I'm looking into VMware virtual machines, and I want to get an understanding about those machines that have the maximum usage of, for instance, of CPU. So which of my virtual machines are using the most CPU, have been using the most CPU in the last 7 days. And here I get, in this case, a chart, because I was requesting a chart and not a table. And I'm actually getting data showing me which of those virtual machines are using how much. And there's also a possibility to click this bar, and it's opening an analyzer chart to actually jumping in back to this analyzer menu that you saw before. So I'm getting more information about that specific virtual machine. So now looking a little bit more at that group analyzer chart here, we can again set SLA markers. We can work with element filters. So for instance, let's say, just picking an example here, right now I'm having all the virtual machines here, and for the sake of having an example, I'm, for instance, just wanting to see those virtual machines that actually are called demo underscore something. So I'm going to an element filter, and I'm actually saying I only want measurement names that contain demo underscore. Okay. Okay. So now I actually get just 2 of those virtual machines, the demo underscore ICI and the demo underscore config portal. I can remove that again and get an accept all filter here. Okay, there we are. So now again, I get everything. Like the last 10, if I put 0 here, I get all the virtual machines I have in my system, which is the same, I guess, in this case, because I don't have so many virtual machines running in my demo system. I can again change title, subtitle, legend, time range, as you know from the other graph. I can here work with value filters. So for instance, let's say I don't want to see all the virtual machines here, but I only want to have those virtual machines that actually have their value at least being beyond 1,000. So this is what I can do here. And again, I see just those 2 machines. Or if I say if it's beyond 200, I'm actually seeing 3 machines. So that's another way of filtering here. I again have the possibility here to use the print feature, the save as feature, the link feature to configure my link. And again, you can see that this is a link containing different information here that can also be, for more advanced use, be modified in scripts, for instance, to get charts automatically. It has a token again. For more details, I'd recommend the documentation. And I guess that's about it for the group analyzer. So as a third thing now, let's look at the category analyzer for a short moment. The category analyzer gives us again another possibility. It gives us the possibility to get an overview on all our different status information in the network. In the standard configuration, we see here the different category types, and for each category type, we see all the statuses, and we see how many are okay, how many are okay failure, how many are error, marginal, and so on and so forth. And we also have the possibility here to use all the different categories and tags in StableNet to get different views here. So for instance, we could say that we want to have the statuses by device type, by device vendor, let's say. Here, this is by device vendor. So we have Juniper, Linux, VMware, Cisco, Hewlett-Packard, or by device name, which is obviously a much longer list. We could use the tags we have in the system, added custom tags. For instance, we have systems in our virtual lab, and we have a VLab tag for a Juniper and a Cisco virtual lab. And we can use this one. And now, instead of a bar chart, for instance, we want a spider chart. Doesn't make sense for just 2 elements. Let's go back to that device vendor thing we had before. There it makes more sense. Here, a spider chart, for instance. Or we could have a relative bar as well, which is always adding to 100%. Let's go back to the bar. And now maybe for these different device vendors, let's group the statuses by measurement types. So now we have 5 different measurement types for Juniper, 4 for Linux, and we see the worst status we have for one of the measurements belonging to this measurement type for this device vendor. And now we can, from there on, we can also jump to the matrix view, and we actually get a nice overview here with little dots showing us what's the state for which type of measurement for which type of device. We can work with filters here again, so we can filter devices, for instance. As I showed before already, we can copy the information to somewhere else. We can again use the links. It's again links that can be edited as well with tokens. And if we did filters and selected something, we can also reset to go back to the main menu. And I think that's about it for today's tutorial. You got a short overview, just wrapping up. You got a short overview about the analyzer, giving you detailed insights for any specific measurement with all the different possibilities there, with the different modes. We saw the group analyzer, which is for a group of measurements. And we saw the category analyzer. Thank you very much. In case of any questions, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to help. Have a good day. Bye.